Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, how dare you, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon, and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto, and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and X. Now we are joined by Righteous Force, D Rose, Brian's Logic, the Adam Meakin, Refracted Curvature, 10th Man, Arwin, and a whole bunch of people in Discord. So welcome, one and all.
Hello.
Hello.
Afternoon.
Afternoon. Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
It's over there.
About any scientific evidence of gravity?
Are you wanting to know about it?
What's gravity? We don't know. Next question.
Hi, John.
I was going to say, are you curious about the eccentricity of orbits? Is that why you would ask that question?
I don't know, I can hear some noise. You're going to need a flare for that. There's a Lamborghini going past.
That's pretty good.
So I don't remember Isaac Newton or Albert Einstein proposing a hypothesis, to the best of my knowledge, for gravity. So no, it would be impossible.
Yeah, you'd need an observed natural phenomena as opposed to a pseudo-Riemannian force-space-time bending invented by Einstein. Spot on. 40 people watching. Wow, early numbers. Good grief. Very warm welcome to all of you who've joined immediately to this live stream. Please share the show. Hopefully we'll have a good audience today. Great. Wonderful. Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
Of course, you got to define what a hypothesis is used for.
Well, nobody in those fields knows or uses the scientific method, basically. So they don't really need it.
That was a terrible paraphrasing of a Michio Kaku quote.
Yeah. So what? I'm doing it like that.
Nobody in our field uses the scientific method.
Yeah, that's right.
He almost says understands.
Nathan, what's the purpose of a hypothesis and which field usually has one?
Science, and it's a suppositional statement to establish cause and effect.
Okay, so they look through a telescope in these fields, which is the housekeeping question, and they see something, and they want to know what's going on.
Perfectly
What's
reasonable.
the next steps?
Well, that's perfectly reasonable. That's why we asked for a hypothesis. They've got plenty of natural phenomena. Like you say, look in a telescope, see something happening. That's a phenomena. It's occurring in nature, so it's a natural phenomenon. It's perfectly within the purview of science to elucidate the cause, that's the purpose of science, of that effect. With hypothesis construction, which is the supposition, you suppose you know the cause of the effect, and you write it down with an alternative hypothesis, which is to say your supposition will cause the effect you're studying. If you're looking at a star, whatever it's doing, you suppose this, whatever it is you suppose, will cause that, the star and whatever it's doing. That's a hypothesis or alternative because it comes alongside a null. A null says, what I suppose, this thing I'm going to suppose, won't cause the effect I'm studying, whatever the star's doing in this instance. Well, that's a null or zero difference result. And it's the alternative and null together that form a scientific prediction, otherwise known as a hypothesis. Yet to be validated, prediction statement with a supposition of a cause of an effect you're studying in nature.
Right. So what's the next step after that?
Experiment. Actualization
Okay,
of a hypothesis. The actualization of the hypothesis is to vary what you think will cause the effect, your supposition, and see if it causes it or not. That's a hypothesis actualization, otherwise known as an experiment.
So empirically, they can't vary the stars.
It's not that you want to vary them, you want to induce the effect you studied. If your effect is a star twinkling, fine. That's the effect you have observed. Now, a hypothesis would be to say, I assume helium content causes twinkling star. Therefore, I will vary the amount of helium in my controlled experimental setup and see if it causes the dependent variable of star twinkle. That's a hypothesis.
Okay.
I also have a null.
All right.
A variation of helium content won't cause the star to twinkle.
Helium content. How did you get to helium?
I just made something up on the spot to give an example.
All right.
John, what were you going to say?
Well, no,
Ideal gases.
I was.
Go,
Go on, John. Go on. You
Oh.
tried 3 times. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
All right. Now that we know they're not doing science, what are they actually doing when they use an equatorial mount telescope and level it?
Measuring angles off a flat plane to the dome represented by your field of vision, ascribed by tracking in something called the celestial sphere, presented hemispherically with respect to a flat plane for each observer who sees it. The stars, that is. It's a flat earth proof.
Absolutely, it is. They even assume when they do the star maps that it's at the time, the precise time of the vernal equinox, where the Earth has no tilt, and you have one big disk extending from the Earth's equator all the way to the celestial equator, all the way to the imaginary celestial sphere, which is the field of view.
Right, did someone post Gene's video into the Master B chat? Or can somebody post his video? Oh, you're all so helpful now that we're live.
Probably Righteous that could do it.
Yeah,
You're there,
just got
Righteous.
back. Give me a sec.
Thank you very much. There's normally all sorts of comments. Oh, here we go. Is this it? Flat
Yes.
Earth frustratingly stupid. Is that it? I think
Yes.
that might be it. It's Bebe with a buzz that's typically on his game as opposed to me. So who is this guy? He looks vaguely familiar. Okay, we'll do our usual shout outs for this guy. On the fly, because I don't know who it is. Okay, this guy's called United Sides Channel. Okay. Got 35,000 subscribers, so a fairly substantial channel. As always, let this dude know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. So there is going to be, any second now, a link to this dude going by in the chat. And in the politest possible way, and in the vain hope that he would return the favour should he respond to us, there's a link going by. So we help him in the algorithmic love in the hope that he would do the same for us in return, as we receive none as flat earthers. Algorithmic love, that is. So please let United Side Channel know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. The video, which has been provided by Gene today, is Flat Earth is frustratingly stupid. Okay, fine.
Well, I would say that flat earthers on a whole, a lot of them can be frustratingly stupid. So I can empathize.
That's a gross oversimplification and stereotyping fallacy, but fine. I am a flat earther. I take great offense to that.
How dare you, John?
Yeah.
Flat
being
Tardia
deadly
can
serious.
be frustrating, maybe.
Hold on, it's just stereotyped every single person in this room. Come on, John.
I know I didn't. I said the majority of flat earthers can be frustratingly stupid.
Oh, thank God, I'm not a
Not all of
majority.
them.
How does that make it better? I don't understand what's going
It's okay,
on.
I'm not a majority,
happening?
so that's
Well, John, if you can't get what John's saying, you're actually proving what he's saying.
Maybe. Thank you. That's so wonderful to prevent me from moving forward in my ignorance to claim a discussion point. Sometimes I have to play dumb 10th. But thank you for ruining that little magic trick. Please expand a little bit further, John.
Well, there's people within, there's the flat earthers, and then there's us, and we're in a tiny corner pointing out objectively what's true. And then it seems like there's people around us and listening. But after you get out so far from that area, you run into flat earthers that assert there's non-physical, physical mediums, that the Earth's rising up. So I can understand the frustration if you are just taking a cursory glance at the subject.
It's almost like algorithmically this notion of a flat Earth was offered up to the most batshit insane conspiratard idiots that could be looking for material to peruse when searching YouTube. It was they that were offered it. So for me, when I was looking at subliminal messages, I got offered up flat Earth on an auto-suggest with Math Powerland telling me Earth's flat. Why? Well, I'm looking at a conspiratorial subject. Right? So when you find people who are talking about clone centers and the Anunnaki and the, what else is the Mandela effect, they're the people who are offered up this subject. So give it to the most kooky weirdos out there and have them be the ones to disseminate this truth, because they're far easier to ridicule rather than the notion that Earth is flat, which is demonstrably the case. So get it to the kooky idiots to put out there, then no one will believe it. What a wonderful ruse.
Yeah, but that happens in all the fields. We had that one video where a guy on Joe Rogan's show came and said, Michio Kaku's off the rails. He's crazy, what he's talking about. They've had 70 years to prove string theory, and it's like a startup with no product, and they keep throwing millions and millions of dollars at it. So it's within every field that people say, don't listen to this group of people within this topic.
Okay, so there we go. That's us discussing his title. I'll do a plug again because there was such distance between us and actually covering it. But his link's going to be going by in the live stream chat. Please let him know if you are watching live, or indeed if you're watching after the fact, that at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me, and hopefully it'll give him some algorithmic love also. I don't know if he's promoted. He may not be. We shall see. Anyway, should we get into this? Let's have a listen to what he's got to say. It's quite a long video, 20 minutes.
First episode of
loud.
Break Brad, a series that I've been teasing.
That's the problem with not having a video queued up in the pre-show. Let's just get that under control. Let's just do it on the fly.
For quite a while now. Anyone who's watched any of the other side channel videos will know that I keep going on rants, because there's things in this world that piss me off. So this series is a home for me to go on all of these rants. And today, I'm starting...
Like he's quite a new videographer based on that intro.
Off big with one of the things that I think annoys me the most in this world, on this planet, on this globe, and that is the flat Earth conspiracy. Why does it annoy me? Because it's fucking stupid.
No swearing.
It's just so stupid.
I have to agree with him.
Okay, go ahead.
I have to agree with him. Yeah, it's not a conspiracy. It's stupid to call it that. Conspiracies are, like, I mean, yeah, how can you measure a conspiracy? But you can measure the Earth flat. There's 10,000 sites a day to prove it's flat. No, I totally agree. It's not a conspiracy. It is stupid to call it that.
Not just the actual flat Earth model is stupid.
Model.
What model?
All of the models of the globe have been derived from flat Earth. If you want to call them models, that's fine. But that's where your globe came from. So to decry models, number one, let's see a globe model. Number two, let's see any mathematics to infer a globe through a certain function that haven't come from a flat plane to begin with. They all have.
But the way they try and prove it or disprove the globe...
So this is going to be a baseless assertion and stereotyping fallacy?
Or everything. It's so dumb. And it just flies in the face of...
Baseless assertion. Just so dumb.
Everything that humanity has been trying to do over the past...
Depends how we get on. 75
Sounds
people
like
watching.
pure ad hom nonsense.
Oh, we're only quarter of an hour into the live show, and there's already 75 people watching, which is great. Again, a warm welcome to all of you. I don't know why the numbers are ramping up a bit quicker than usual, so we'll obviously get to 100 quicker than usual, which is great.
Centuries or millennia, which is to grow and evolve and change as a species and get more intelligent and find out more about the world.
Evolution is a hoax. We can debunk that. And to evolve as a species would be to invoke evolution, which is nonsensical.
Yeah, and the becoming intelligent over time, that too is.
Yeah.
Hmm.
But how do you become? How does he know what the purpose of anything is? Number one. Number two. How do you do this intelligence increase without information? Because what he's just talked about there removes information.
that
You
we
have
live in.
matter and energy
And it just
that
it
already
flies against
existed
that because
Oh, I'm sorry.
Hang on, I'm talking.
When Brian's talking,
Yeah, I'm
And,
talking. Yeah.
yeah, and I want
I
to talk
knew it.
next. And I want to talk
Yeah.
after when you're done.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Ted. Yeah. How do you who have intelligence come from no information and a situation that only matter, where only matter and energy exists, and that had to exist prior to the Big Bang even happening? So where's this intelligence coming from? Because he's just threw information out the window.
Wow. With just
Go
a
on,
couple
Ted.
of off-the-cuff comments, we were straight into the ontological primitives, but fair enough. Go ahead, 10th.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this video. I didn't pick it, but I could tell already that this person has not done good research. He's just using the same things I hear from normies, and it's going to be interesting to see the depth of his research. So it's going to be a bunch of these stereotype fallacies, ad homs, and how stupid these people are. But then you come visit FED debates, and you dig it a little bit, and you say, oh my gosh, they're using flat Earth for everything. They even use it for the globe model. This guy doesn't know anything about the equatorial plane. He doesn't know anything about vernal equinox. He doesn't know anything about angles.
Well, he probably just watched one David Weiss video and now thinks he knows all flat Earth arguments.
everything they come out with is just horse shit. It's just all based on crap, like terrible experiments that anybody can just look at and go, that's shit. Like one of the most famous ones is so they don't think that gravity is a thing.
See, I told you. I told you. All you got to do is type in YouTube, and YouTube and people on his site say gravity isn't a thing.
Okay,
This
well,
guy
Is there such a thing?
even had physics in school from the lingo that he uses. Like, this guy really doesn't know anything.
okay, Brian, go ahead.
Is there such a thing as a terrible experiment? I mean, how can an experiment be terrible?
Okay, he doesn't know what
That's ridiculous.
he doesn't know what experiments are. He doesn't know what science is, and he doesn't know what gravity is. He's clearly only educated to a high school level in terms of gravity. That much is obvious immediately. Go on.
Right, and I went with the high school level, the high school level of gravity, because if he was going to describe gravity of an object in motion, he would use eccentricity, which is a flat Earth, horizontal plane deviation. So, yeah, that is.
You're gonna need a flat Earth for that.
Are you sure about the high school level education? Are you sure
Yes.
it just isn't middle school or something? Because he's not using any words
He's saying
That are
gravity's
No, it
not.
is.
Listen to the words.
proving that he
Hello.
knows anything.
Yeah, we heard that first time. Yeah, he said they think gravity, stereotyping fallacy with flat earthers, isn't a thing. That's how he phrased it. Well, a thing? What do you mean a thing? That infers, as far as I'm concerned, he's talking about something in physical reality. A thing. Like a lollipop. Yeah? That's what he thinks gravity is. No, it's a description in pseudo for space time invented by Einstein in a geometry. Now, if you're beyond high school education level of what gravity is, you wouldn't be saying, oh, they think it's not a thing. That's just crude garbage language from somebody who's ignorant. You'd be far more specific if you were educated to a higher standard in terms of what gravity is, in terms of its fourth dimensional bent space-time as a result of the uneven distribution of mass. That's Einsteinian gravity. He clearly is not at that level.
Nathan, real quick, what does George Muser say about gravity?
Quote, Scientific American editor George Musa, gravity is not a force.
How about Brian Cox?
Quote, Professor Brian Cox, there isn't really a force of gravity at all. End quote.
Okay, so they must be flat earthers.
Or they're
Gravity
just
isn't real,
thinking of it
and
as
that
a force.
water will always find its level. That's the thing they always
Yeah, like used as a tool for establishing level. Yeah, it does. That's why it's used as a tool.
say. Water will find its level.
His
Yeah, it will.
own side says the same thing.
I mean, doing that is a terrible experiment. I mean, it's also, as you said, a tool that's used in construction and architecture and all that, but it's a terrible experiment.
His own side says the exact same thing. Nobody disagrees. Water always finds its own level. It's just that his side calls level curved. But they don't disagree that water
Let's be
finds its
clear.
own
Let's
level.
be clear. We had this whole argument for 2 hours yesterday, Brian. When you say his side, no. The anti-flat earthers, when they reach the point that they require a flat plane to describe a globe, will claim, in opposition to globe geometry, that level is curved. Let's be clear. Their side don't say that. That's not with the maths of a globe, if that's what their side is. But if their side is individual dicks that don't understand their own argument, then yeah, maybe.
Well, they're not with us. I put it that way.
We thrashed this out, though,
I
didn't
wouldn't
we?
even
It
go
was
into
2
that.
hours of this yesterday, wasn't it? I mean, I sat through it all for a reason. I'm sure there was a purpose to it. And the purpose, as far as I was concerned, was to ascertain that there is a distinct difference between anti-flat earthers who claim non-rhetoric based overcomes like bendizontal versus the absolute implicit requirement of globe geometry, which is actually based on a flat plane, to have horizontal be level and eye level be level and not bending. Those principles must hold true for their geometry, and when an anti-flat earther, referred to you in a moment's notice as being their side, that's where you end up with a 2 hour discussion opening up again, which it just has by me.
Yeah, but, well, how did they deal with water levels then?
They don't.
Without any of them. If you believe in a globe, see, this is the thing, and I had to call it like the shout out Bev for this. This is what Bev has been banging on about, even though it's not a proof that level is horizontal on its own. But how do you deal with a water level tool if level has to be horizontal? If you believe you're on a globe like this guy, then he doesn't even realize that he is actually claiming that
Let me answer.
water always does find its level, and it is curved.
Okay, I get it. The answer is, but for reification, you have to understand the principles of a flat earth employment to get to your notion that you're asserting by way of reification. Now, if you can understand that sentence, that is to say that you understand that what you have translated from flat earth measurements into a description of how the sky appears to us, so you can get better ideas of where the motions will lead in the future, then you can appreciate that that methodology described with a ball surface is not the world you're actually standing upon, but useful as a tool to describe the motion of the heavens. Once you understand that, you would appreciate in that moment, upon appreciation, that it's a reification fallacy to imply that the model inference of a sphere Earth is actually the ground you're stood upon. Now you're asking, what do you do at that point when they either accept the reification of a globe we're not standing on, inference from a globe that's actually measured flat, to juxtaposing the reification fallacy they're now going to be guilty of onto you in rebuttal? Well, if you're going to take up their rebuttal and not point out that you've got to reify what is essentially coming from a flat plane in the first instance to now argue about your reification and how it holds true, then that's your bad, Brian. That, again, 2 hours of discussion yesterday. I couldn't have summarised this so concisely unless I'd listened really carefully.
But it's not my
Nathan?
bad. It's nothing to do with me.
Yeah,
I'm
it
not
is.
the one claiming
Absolutely
that level
your
is
bad.
curved.
With conclusion, Brian wrong. Do you not remember?
No, that wasn't. That doesn't. No, I wasn't wrong to say that
you were.
they are claiming that level is curved. This guy has to claim it also. He can't.
Yeah, but
level
he's a
can't
guy.
be horizontal for him.
Okay, this guy says curve is unicorns. So have we got a battle against that now, Brian? That's the standard, is it? This dick says curved is bent, and bent is straight, and therefore bendizontal. I don't have to argue with that when I can go to the curve calculator and go, okay, this flat earth based curve calculator with a dingleberry dangling beneath and the surface level horizon you can never see below the surface level, requires geometric principles hold true in terms of horizontal and level. Here they are described as eye level and surface level. They are factually straight. Your response, but this dick's going to say it's bent. Okay.
Well, he has to.
Yeah, I know he does. But is that my concern, that he's suddenly in cognitive dissonance?
No, but this is the point, you see. This is the point. He just said, flat earthers say that the water always finds its level. No, everybody, not just flat earthers, everybody says that. But some people don't mean that level is horizontal. And that includes him. The point is, he's attacking us on something that is his biggest problem. He can't claim level is horizontal and claim to be standing on a globe.
Perfect.
He can't do that.
Oh, finally, we get there. Yes. So, in other words, you concisely now pointing out his straw man argument is where we can move on, rather than focusing on the fact that their people will claim horizontal is bent. It's just so convoluted and confusing for an audience member, because no, the globe mathematics do not claim that. Now we're finding out even more advanced, and this was discussed in the pre-show also, and in sincerity, Brian did actually cover this a couple of weeks ago, about how terrestrial refraction isn't a bent line. It's the surface being inflated at the rate of r. It was right in front of our eyes the whole time. Just nobody had recognised it. Well, Brian points it out and suddenly you go, all right, not even their refraction, described and juxtaposed with bent light, has anything to do with bent light in their maths. None. Zero. Because it's 7/6 of the radius. Where's the light coming into that when you're bending the radius? It doesn't, it isn't. It's just tricky maths that then gets described as being terrestrial refraction when applied in standard form, because that's what it's titled. But it isn't.
Right.
Who knew?
The terrestrial refraction applies to like space itself, basically, as they apply it, not to the light.
No, it
It's
applies to the
a
globe.
reality warping
that's wrong.
influence.
No, you weren't there yesterday, clearly. No, it does not. It applies to the surface of the sphere dingleberry below the flat plane you're measuring the differential from. The dingleberry grows at a rate of 7/6 of the radius. You used to describe it as them flattening it out, Arwin. Correct, because they're making the ball less bally from a vantage point they put you on, where they have a horizon below surface level, called Earth curve.
Right, but the mathematics itself is not an optical alteration; it's a spatial alteration.
Yes,
That was
I
my
see.
point.
No,
Yeah,
I mean,
he's
when
right.
you said spatial, I see what you mean now. Yes, you're correct. I was wrong to correct you.
I must
that's
say
all
two
that's still
things on this.
thinking.
First of all, it was actually Adam who was the first to point that out. It was Adam who first pointed that out a long time back. And I understood it, but I didn't point it out first. It was Adam. And number two is their globe, because in the black swan, they have to claim it's refraction, right? Which destroys their model. Because they have to claim that the geometric horizon is only in the mass. That means every horizon is claimed to be a refracted horizon, which means that every horizon or everything you see all the time is always a refracted over 6R globe. Now, we can't call it refractive because it doesn't meet the definition of refraction, but that's what they call it. The point is that they don't ever even have a circle. Their globe, that they like to call, this is paradoxical, is always an arc length that is bent or unbent at different degrees. They never have an actual globe because they never have less than 7/6R, which means they always have, they're claiming they're living on an arc length that changes in degrees of bending.
Correct.
That's what they're claiming.
Right. So the reification of what they're describing with their maths once reified is that arc length, and it's changing and varying size and not balliness because it's only to a certain point. But the mathematical derivation of the R value it's all based on comes from a flat plane. So you've got Al-Biruni measuring dip to a physical geometric horizon, or a measurement that gives you your equatorial plane and globe Earth equator, i.e. elevation angle measurements to Polaris. Again, kudos to Brian for pointing this out about a month ago. So, as much as we sarcastically say Brian did this a couple of weeks ago, there is a reason why that sarcasm exists. It's because so many times Brian was there to point out, I had made a video about this a couple of weeks ago, actually. And that's how it became the sarcastic gag. But it's not to say that it's not true, because Brian does actually do that. Just to make that clear, our sarcasm might get misconstrued as us saying Brian's useless when he's actually not. Far from it. Anyway, the point is, with this particular reification to an arc length, the R value itself that is going to give you the varying arc lengths you've reified into the world you're standing on comes from a flat plane. This is so over this guy's head, by the way. This is so far beyond this guy's comprehension. If somebody has, and I hope they have, let him know, at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me, and he comes and he listens to this, he won't have the slightest idea what we're talking about. You realise that, right?
Yeah.
Nathan, in Master B. Well, okay, go, John.
Well, no, I was just going to say that this math that we're talking about, in the math, takes place below surface level. The inflation of the circle underneath the flat plane, whether it's refracted or it's not, is all below surface level. Everything he heard, he's going to think is word salad to him. He's not going to get that.
No, totally
Nathan,
agree.
Master B, based on this guy's last statement about water, I have 5 pictures of LIGO, the laser that had to be horizontal aligned.
What's
They
this?
have-
I've got a photo. What's this big trench looking like thing next to it?
Water,
Oh, right. That's fascinating. Why is that there?
level.
To establish LIGO to be level with water, with a great big trench.
Yep,
I see. Thanks, Senth. Very useful.
you're welcome.
Just to add in there on what John said a few minutes ago, what they must do is create an arc length, a rate of curve of that arc length, where you can see something in a straight line. So their mathematics will allow you to see that building or that thing or whatever in a straight line beyond what you would be able to see if we were on a geometric globe of 3959 radius. But that what you're seeing is still below the surface level in reality. So whatever you are seeing in front of the horizon within their maths, right, is in reality in front of a horizontal horizon. They need to make up the distance. This is something I've been talking about, and I made videos. I think I made a video involved in this, where it's a distance thing. So that's what they needed to explain with the black swan, for example. They needed to explain how an horizon could be at least 10 miles away from 1 foot observer height. That's what they need to explain. How can you just look in a straight line and see this thing that you shouldn't be able to see on our globe? Do you know what I mean? This is what they need to do. So yes, it's below realistic horizontal surface level, but that little bit of curvature that they have in their maths wouldn't change you being able to see it in their paradigm.
Andrew
Right.
Thomas Young admits that all of his refraction studies were done on plane surface. But if Andrew Thomas Young lives on a globe, then it would have been done on a globe surface. But it wasn't. It was done on a plane surface. But then he says, but the Earth isn't flat, so we're going to have to do some geometric considerations. So you just have to understand what he's saying. It's what the thought experiment is, the globe. The thought experiment is all this stuff about bendy light and all. Because everything you do requires a flat Earth, and all roads lead to flat Earth. Even his refraction studies, which aren't correctly the proper refraction he's talking about.
Sure, the studies.
Well, how can you study?
Well, hold on. The studies are part of a bait and switch with refraction. So the studies are studying refraction and done with respect to a flat plane. When he then ignores every bit of it and says, well, we're going to take geometric considerations, that's where Arwin describes it as being spatial. I.e., we're going to inflate the globe at a rate of 7/6 of the radius of a presupposed globe we can't measure in physical reality, with a tangent point horizon that only exists in the maths, and a circumferential value to an equator measured off a flat plane to Polaris. So those geometric considerations with
Well,
an
hold on.
R taken from a flat Earth will be utilised to infer the reification of a globe with a tangent point below surface level. Not a bad summary, Nathan. I'm doing well. Go ahead, Brian.
Hey, that was John.
Oh, I was
That
getting
was
ready.
John.
Go ahead, John.
You added it in on the end there. Their geometric considerations are still with respect to a flat plane. That's fine.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, the maths after the fact, after the bait and switch, is still with respect to surface level and eye level.
Yeah, but
Surface
see,
level.
Nathan, remember
When-
we saying yes? I'm sorry, I thought you stopped.
No, go ahead.
But
Neil.
yesterday, with the glazed look, and you had that conversation with Rachie, they ain't getting it. I don't know if it's deliberate or what, but you're gonna get that glazed look that Chocolate talks about every time John says that.
Yeah, I get it. There's going to be a certain number of people, and I've accepted this probably about a year ago. This is getting to the point where it is too complicated for some people. Now, as much as I got annoyed with Rachie, it was unnecessary for me to do so in the chat yesterday. It's my frustration with her ignorance and lack of ability to comprehend this stuff. Now, I shouldn't get annoyed with that, should I? That's not reasonable for me to get annoyed with that. Or is it? Maybe it is. I don't know. We'll see.
Well, for somebody, the average
You know,
everyday
you-
person, probably not, because it's beyond what their purview.
Right.
But Rachie has been in the arena long enough. She should already understand that.
Right, but
Well, I think.
hold on,
Sorry,
Neil,
but
hold on.
I think you're giving her a compliment by getting annoyed because you know she should be getting this.
No, well, that's what I'm saying. Maybe she shouldn't. That's what I'm saying. I shouldn't be getting annoyed because I have a high expectation. So I'm saying you should be of an intelligence quota to comprehend this. It's been 3 years. You're not. Therefore, I was calling her a dumbo. I'm going, if you don't get it, you're dumb. Now, Adam was almost as unkind, but not in a back and forth discussion with the individual themselves, when he's like, she's either stupid or a shill. Well, that's my reaction to her when she's not getting it, and I'm explaining it, and there's 10 people around me in the chat also reiterating it to her, and she's taking 2 or 3 minutes to respond, and then typing out some incoherent nonsense babble about not agreeing that a bent line won't give you a tangent, or something like that, or that you can get an area of equal elevation on a globe. Things like that. You're like, what? This is obviously beyond your intellectual purview. It's beyond how much you can cope with. If you can't cope with it, I should not ridicule you for not being intelligent enough to get it. Because we
This
can't
happened-
have it both ways.
this
I'm nearly done. Can't have it both ways. You can't say we're at the absolute tip of the spear in terms of the complexities of the argument and how they break down, and then say, what? You don't get it? That seems unreasonable, does it not?
Nathan, this happens every day on all subject matters in life. It's actually a good way to gauge people, so to speak. So let me give an example. What's the standard on any particular subject? Let's use math. 2 + 2 is 4. That's a given. That's your foundation. That's objective truth right there. 2 + 2 is 4. Okay. So then when you're talking to somebody and you're using that standard yourself, but they're saying, yeah, but 2 + 2 could be something else. They go from objective to subjective feeling. So here you've got Rachie, and I wasn't part of that back and forth chat talk, but again, she's been around a while. She understands, we think, the argument, but then she says stuff like she's saying. So then we could say, wait a minute, all this time, what's your foundation? What do you base everything on first? Is level? Is horizontal level? I mean, we got to ask basic questions, because if you go 10 steps further, if the foundation is wrong, they're going to say stupid things like Rachel does.
Hey, Sleeping Warrior.
Is there anybody in this hangout right now that has actually watched the Fight the Flat Earth interview with Rachie from the other day?
No.
Please
Nope.
speak now.
Still not.
No.
Happy
Right.
birthday, Anthony. Happy birthday,
you?
Anthony.
Oh, is it your
Thank
birthday?
you, guys.
Oh, happy birthday.
Yeah.
You want us to
Thank
sing
you very
happy
much.
birthday?
Thank you very
Nobody
much.
watched the Fight the Fat Shirt video.
I endured that interview with Fight the Flat Earth. I watched for it and I was listening really, really carefully for the moment when she says that she's jumped sides. It doesn't happen. What I actually saw was Fight the Flat Earth basically bullying her with kindness. He was bullying her into submission. He was trying to put to her mouth and cheesy me. Oh, come on, Rachie. I'm going to call it right now. You're a reformed flat earther, aren't you? and he's bullying her and bullying her, and he's doing it very politely and very friendly, very affably. The cheeseometer was at full speed, right? At no point did she ever say she's converted to the ball. I did not hear any word where she said that. And when she gave her explanation for why she feels as though she's kind of taking a step back, her actual words were, "I'm sick of all the infighting." Not, "I've accepted some evidence that we're on a spinning water ball with gas pressure without a container." None of that, no science. Her actual explanation was, "I'm sick of the infighting." That's what Rachel actually said. She has not jumped back to the globe. She has not accepted any new science that we're not familiar with. She just got sick and tired of the infighting. Why does the infighting exist? Well, that's the thing that's like the problem with the likes of Bob Nodell for his incoherent dielectric nonsense. This is what happens when you push this kind of stuff. It's the effect of Dell pushing his upwards accelerating Earth. This is what happens when you push this nonsense. What's going to happen if more and more people on our side push nonsense? And the answer, you're looking at it, it is Rachel. She said she was tired of the infighting. That's it. There was no science. There was no evidence. There was nothing other than the politics.
That can't handle other people questioning stuff.
You didn't hear Anthony talking?
What was this chat back and forth with Nathan have to do? Was that about infighting or a topic, particular topic of refraction?
No, Anthony brought up Rachie 00000's discussion with convicted violent criminal and woman beater Craig McNeil of the Fight the Flat Earth channel.
I never brought it up. I did not bring it up. I joined because somebody else brought it up. I just wanted to tell you all that at no point does she accept or acknowledge that she's gone back to the globe. That was pushed in her mouth affably, or it was like the most subtle of bullying you'd ever see. He was forcing it down her throat, but very politely and friendly, because he's trying to buddy up to her.
Hold on, Anthony. We got all of that. Let me tell you something. I've been inviting her to come and hang out where we are right now, and so we could distribute the information we have to her, and she's rejected and rejected and rejected. Well, I have kids, I can't do it, but she pops up all over the place. And now she don't like the infighting. Perhaps you just don't like the solid arguments, because it seems like she don't want anything to do with the solid arguments.
Well, the main thing that the Sleeping Warrior mentioned was that she never mentioned that she switched over. And I also heard somebody that watched the video, and they said she never mentioned that.
No,
she didn't.
No way. You mean to say? Hold on a second. This is a hold on.
She's on the fence.
Hold on doesn't mean stop to Armin. You mean this is quite a shocking revelation? We need to actually get this on record, like with the time and date and everything. You're telling me that people came to the comments and chat and lied about people converting back to the globe? I really
listen, imagine, right? Just imagine, just for argument's sake, that Nathan was trying to admit to the world that he was something. Insert suitable thing. Let's just say, for example, say he's coming out of the closet, right? And he never actually says the words, I'm gay. But somebody else is putting those words in his mouth at all times. And he never says it, but somebody else keeps doing it over and over and over again. And in the end, he submits, right? But still never says it. Did he admit that he was gay? The answer is no. Was he bullied into submission? The answer is yes. Go and watch that interview with Rachel on FTFE. And somebody tell me anywhere, give me a timestamp for where she says, I don't accept that, that we live on a flat plane or whatever, words to that effect, because it's not there. But I can give you 10 examples where she said things like, well, I'm not sure about the evidence for this argument, and I'm not sure about, and Fight the Flat Earth says, yeah, because there is no evidence for flat Earth, is there? And she's like, well, maybe there is, but and you can see she's sat on the fence. Brian is correct. Or Arwin was correct. She sat on the fence.
This is why.
But at no point does she concede. So he's bullying her into submission. That's what he's doing.
Yeah, but how does that have anything to do with us now at this stage? I mean, why should we be so concerned?
We shouldn't.
I mean, I personally gave,
because of the perception.
I understand what you're saying, Anthony, but I'm not attacking you here. But I personally gave Rachel time. I found it hard to even get communication out of her. Leave her go. I mean, okay, Grant, go the way of Ranty if you want. It's none of my business. That's not going to change the
Exactly.
nature of the world. You know what I mean?
The
world is
reason
gonna-
why it's important is
Why would you
because
even
that she's
go
being
on the
part.
show of fight the wife beating shirt in the first place?
Hold on.
The reason
no,
why it's
stop.
important
Let's not
is
do that.
because she's being
Stop.
pinned
Stop.
along.
Stop. Not wife beating, right? Outrageously violent convicted criminal Craig McNeil beats
My apologies.
women with offensive weapons, right? That's been admitted by himself. Yes, he does beat women, but I don't know about wife. I don't think he's even married. So it's unreasonable to call him a wife beater, but he does absolutely, by his own admission, beat women with offensive weapons. That's correct. But just not wife. Just don't want to be, you know.
Well, to be fair, let's add a little bit
My
of balance.
apologies.
He says that he simply poked somebody with a walking stick, right? He
A
ignores
woman.
that that's still technically assault.
That's not what the judge said.
Sorry.
No, but-
we could argue all day about the wrangle-dangle of Craig beating women with offensive weapons and his claimed mitigation for that. Meanwhile, I'd prefer not to focus on convicted violent criminal and woman beater Craig McNeil of the Fight the Flat Earth channel. He's been convicted of a violent crime. He was described as outrageously violent by the judge. These are all facts. He does beat women. I just want to focus on that rather than it being a wife, because that's not true. Woman, yes, he beats women. Yes, he's convicted of being a violent criminal. Yes, that's all true. And as John said, I'm nearly done. Bloody hell. As John said the other day, Craig will have to deal with what he is now. That's what he is and always will be. Now, it will destroy him if he can't cope with the fact he's a, according to a judge, outrageously violent convicted criminal who beats women. Now, he'll have to deal with that because that's what he is now. Meanwhile, I just want to know why Rachie is on convicted, outrageously violent criminal and woman beater Fight the Flat Earth Craig McNeil's channel. Why is she even there?
Because
What it
she
is.
rejects to come here.
Or
She
the-
refuses to come here.
No.
it's
What
because of
it is?
attention and excitement. I really feel that she really likes the attention. She likes people to tug at her, like, "Oh, come on, get to the side." She likes that form of attention. She
yeah.
goes everywhere
No,
and does
guys. What it is? It's because Dell was
Why
pushing
are
the
we going-
accelerated.
Hello, can you hear Sleeping
arguments.
Warrior replying?
It's because Dell was pushing the upwards accelerating Earth argument, and she bought into it, right, quite strongly. Argued for it and against other things that perfectly explain the observations that we see in the real world and are demonstrable within scientific method and are provable and verifiable, satisfying all of the known parameters of science. She bought into the nonsense that Dell was pushing, and I believe that she's realized that he's wrong, doesn't want to admit it, but rather than say, do you know what, I pushed that for a bit and believed it, but realized it's nonsense, she went to the ball earthers for comfort because she realized she'd made a mistake. Now, where did we see that before in previous examples? We've seen that with Ranty. We've seen that apparently with Seek Truth, Speak Lies. He claims the same thing. But anybody that goes for consolation or consoling from ball earthers, after getting their asses whipped from flat earths or science or evidence that's contrary to their opinion, not only is it cog dis and that's the recognition of it by doing that, Jaren's probably going to do that soon in the imminent future too, but it's also it's because you're basically being rejected by your side. That is what she's doing. She's being essentially rejected by her side, and she's looking for solace. She's getting comfort from blurfs, and they're all putting their arm around her and saying, "Come back into the cult. We'll be fine with you." Ranty did the exact same thing. That's the context.
Yes, okay, perfect. I'm going to do a quick shout out to Jamie Sea Level from the chat, who says, Sleeping Warrior talks like Rachie is this timid little child who can't stick up for herself. She's a grown woman. FFS.
Yeah,
Now, why are we?
Why
Why are we dividing the thoughts?
Come on.
Hang on. Why are we dividing the thoughts of Rachie? Why are we not talking about the subject matter we're supposed to be talking about? Who cares if Rachie, the girl Rachie that we know, if she decided to go back and be a baller, who cares? Off you go.
It is quite specifically the title of the show, though, Brian. So go ahead, Arwen.
Yeah, okay. So I would definitely like to continue divining motivation here, or at least attempt to try to profile what's going on, you know. And Rachie seems to pick sides a lot that when those sides create controversy. And this is what keeps happening. She likes the chaos. She likes people pulling at her like, no, don't do that. Oh, don't believe that. She likes that. She keeps choosing things that happen, events like Dell suddenly starting about upward moving Earth, because she noticed everybody reacted so heavily. And that's why she chose that. She's out for chaos. She's out for attention.
You're
She's on the
describing.
fence. Her feet are. I'm not done yet. Her
Well,
feet
give
are
her more
glued to the
attention
fence.
then.
She's
Just
not
keep
coming
giving
off.
more attention
Oh
to
my
her.
God!
Yeah, just keep
I
giving
want some
that attention to her. My gosh.
Why are we doing this?
Trying to define it.
The reason is because there are a lot of people claiming that she's jumped back to the globe for whatever reason, and it's correcting the misconception that that's not true. She hasn't said that she jumped back to the globe. What she actually said was she was tired of the infighting. Well, why do you think I've not been here for a long time? Well, it's because of the infighting caused by the likes of Bob Nodell, Dell with the upwards accelerating Earth. She was as frustrated as what I was, and I took a back seat because of it.
No.
Because you don't need the rumpus and
Arwin's going to rumpus this entire
You
discussion
are
unless you let him make his
educated
point.
question.
He won't even let me talk. I'm the host. Right, just let Arwin get to the end of his point. Otherwise, he'll ruin everyone's from this point forth. Go ahead, Arwin.
Yeah, okay. You're projecting your good nature of yourself onto her. She's not you. She doesn't have that drive like you. She doesn't have that loyalty to people and friends like you. It doesn't work like that with her. Nothing that she's done so far, and I've kept very close eye on her, is like you are. She's out for attention, and she lied she lied about that. Oh, I'm tired of the infighting. No. She just told the anti-flat earther what they wanted to hear, because that gives them hope. Start pulling them to her to them. That's what is happening. That's what she's out for. She's attention grabby. She loves people to pull at her, and that's what's driving her. She just lied.
Okay,
to
good.
address,
Who
let me
cares?
answer Brian.
Okay, 10th
Hang
man
on, hang on,
next.
Sleeping
10th
Warrior.
man next. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Who go ahead?
10th man.
Okay,
Go
thank
on.
you. Yeah, who cares? Number one. Number two, I need something substantive. Substance, something with substance. You were in the chat just yesterday. I missed that whole thing. I've heard this thing about Craig the Flat Earth and all this, but I don't know the details. So let's say Anthony actually depicted the situation properly. Fine, set that aside. What happened yesterday between Nathan and Rachel in chat? That is fresh. What was she saying, Nathan? And what was your response? And what was the problem?
Who's claiming refraction in regards to the Black Swan, saying that it's a reasonable rebuttal. And then when asked about acquisition of a tangent, she denied that it was an issue of having bent sphere-shaped air and light bending through it in terms of acquisition of tangents. She also detailed how you could have an area of equal elevation on a sphere. Those are three that I can remember of her relatively concise summaries that took her a little while to come up with. Rinse and repeat all her arguments.
All right. So based on that, I mean, not seeing the whole, duration of that, just based on that, that sounds eerily similar to Jaron agreeing with Mattoon about it can work on a globe just as well as a flat Earth. So they do not understand the parameters whatsoever.
I was there are things that do work on a globe and a flat Earth, though. We can't help that.
Like what?
Yeah, like what?
Yeah, like what? Let's go.
Oh, you want me to give you an example?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yes,
because
please.
there's nothing that could work on a globe.
I don't have one off the top of my head.
Why did you say it then?
Not just being fluffy.
Fair enough. It was the right
Let's
timing
get
for
the
that
record
response.
straight. There's nothing that works on a globe. It's a joke.
Okay, let's
Well,
move
you'd
on.
have to
Let's
have a
move
globe
on.
first.
Right, beyond the discussion, you can hear about it in more detail in the pre-show if you're a member, if you joined off the back of my call to action to join as a member yesterday, or you get gifted a membership or something of that likes. Check out today's pre-show in regards to the actual discussion about the topic. That would be the Flat Earth discussion. It's normally the other way around. You don't normally get the focused discussion about what was debated in that regard between me and Rachie in a chat on Flatsoid's channel. Shout out to Flatsoid, as that's where this all took place. Now we're into the whys and wherefores of the psychology and the motivation. And to Arwin, she's some, biker chasing chick that's out for the thrills and spills and causing trouble for him. Okay, if that's how you see her because you've kept a close eye on her, very suspicious. But fine, that's how you see it. Go ahead, Refracted.
But she came to my chat too, and I have tried to address her, and she literally, at some point, she just doesn't listen anymore. And then she doesn't remember anything about that either. She doesn't even keep track. She doesn't care.
Okay, you don't know that it's within her cognitive capability to process this stuff, right? Some people are just not capable of processing this stuff to the level. I'm probably one of them, Arwin, right? All of this stuff that I understand, when we say it's a defense mechanism for my own stupidity when I take the piss out of Brian for knowing 2 weeks ago, right? He's obviously smarter than I am. He's figured it out quicker. He's done better research and got there before me, right? Now, even after, just hear me out. Even after he's got there, he'll put it out with me interrupting because I want to keep the background noise level low, or I want to play a video. I'm not smart enough to be listening to what he's actually saying. 10 repetitions later, the penny will drop and I'll copyright it as my own and tell Brian he's stupid. Well, that's a defense mechanism, right? Because it takes me a while to get there too. Now, just because I've got there doesn't mean that I've got the gall to say you don't get it yet. 3 years later, some people never will. We're at the tip of the spear.
I get. Hold on. He's talking to me. Come on. So yeah, I get that. But Rachel's not functioning like that because there's a big difference in everything you just said, like how you're smart, how you try to cover for yourself when you make a mistake, whatever, There's a big difference. Namely, you actually keep track of what's happening. Like you will remember things when reminded, all that. She just never does. Like you have to remind her about everything.
Yeah, and
she easily forgets about everything that's mentioned and then just starts completely incompatible trains of thinking and not even realizing that.
Sure. Maybe she processes things that are alongside her cognitive bias. Maybe she wants to be back on the ball. I can relate to that too. I've met plenty of people who are going on that path. Yeah, they know it's flat, but they don't damn well like it. They'd rather be back on the ball. Now, most of them turn into anti-flat earthers. Rachel might be on that path, right?
I don't know. I feel that she's going to be on that fence and just be there forever, go back and forth, whenever she feels like it or whenever
Fine, we heard that. There's lots of other people who want to get a word in here, Arwin, so we're going to go over the same points. Go ahead, whoever was trying to get a word in. I know there's a lot of you who want to say stuff. We're going to go back to this video eventually.
So when I got told yesterday that Rachel jumped back to the wall.
What happened to the other person?
Who's the other person?
You're going to need a flat earth for that, by the way.
Who was the other person? I didn't catch the name. Was it me?
John. It was Refracted.
Oh, sorry. Well, let me go off to John, please.
Go ahead, John.
Right. This entire conversation has taken place with the idea that there are sides to take in this discussion. I want to know the point of contention that you can choose a side on now with the information that we have.
You can't, but in about 7 more repetitions of that, I'll understand it as a good argument and then take credit for it.
Hold on. You can have a political position within the argument, right? This is not about argumentative position. This is about a
show about physics.
Stop. Everyone stop.
Are you going to agree to the ball?
Please, Arwin, you had enough mic time. There's people in a queue. Bloody hell. Number one, no one's picking up what I thought John would get elaborated on by Arwin. He's ruined the moment. I'm not going to get him to repeat it, but I will reiterate what he's trying to say. John is pointing out that regardless of if you think you were on a ball, the prerequisite requirement for a flat earth holds true for you and me as a flat earther. He's asking, John, refracted curvature is asking, where's the point of contention? Where do they, as ballers, disagree with the necessity their globe has for a flat plane? Show me the point of contention. No one's picking up on it.
That's not true. We all pick up on it.
We
need a ball earther to be able to answer that.
After Anthony, I'd like to say something.
They're not going to answer that.
Okay, Anthony, then Arwin. Arwin, bloody hellfire. I've given you your mic time and you're still ruining everyone else's bit. You can have your time after 10th. Sleeping Warrior, then 10th, then
responding.
Going on.
Can I be
going on. For fuck's sake, I've lost control of the show because of Arwin. Wonderful.
Bye.
Try that again.
Well, that'll solve everything.
All I said was 10th, then Sleeping Warrior, and then Arwin, but that didn't come through because Arwin was rumpusing me. Now he's buggered off. Wonderful.
It's the other way around. 10th after me, right?
Correct.
Yes. Sorry. Sleeping Warrior, then,
Okay.
then
So-
Arwen if he comes back.
So when I got told yesterday that Rachel had jumped sides, my first thought was, how does she reconcile the sky being a vacuum, right? How does she get past the sky being a vacuum? Because it's an important issue if you're going to think that you're on a spinning water ball in a vacuum of space, because you've got to come over that. Now, they all use gravity as the container, right? Well, we know gravity is not a force, so it can't be the container, and it debunks the globe claim. But she did actually answer the question, how do you get over the sky being a vacuum? She has answered it, and I want somebody to point out what the problem is without me preloading it, right? She said, well, if you can't have gas pressure without a container, how did you get into the position where there's no gas pressure in the first place to see whether or not you need a container to create the pressure in the first place? How did you get into that example? And I was like, oh my God. Anybody want to point out what the problem with that thinking is?
The question of how you would first be in a complete vacuum to describe how, in order to have gas pressure, you'd need containment. She's asking, how did you first be in a position to do that? Is that correct?
Yeah. How did you get into that negative, that vacuum, right? How did you get into that position to prove that you need a container to have the gas pressure?
So
That's what she said.
My answer to that would be, what vacuum?
It's a burden of proof reversal fallacy by trying to prove the negative. That's what she was trying to apply.
All right. In the year 2020, January, Black Swan. I remember, man, this is a globe killer. Everyone's going to get this. And then people were saying, maybe 3 months, maybe 9 months, maybe 18 months. It's 2023, almost going to be January 2024. And we don't even have flat earthers who understand this. If the Earth is a sphere with a radius of 3959 miles, then underline it, capitalize it. Every horizon distance measurement must be no more than 1.225 times the square root of observers' height in feet. We have oil wells, platforms, 9.41 miles out. They don't
have
get
an
this.
unfalsifiable model.
Can you
because
hear
they
him in the
always
middle
claim
of that? Can you hear him? Can you hear him? He's obviously in the middle of something. Can you hear that?
My bad,
Earth
love.
is not a sphere based on their claim of 3959. So you got this unbending 7/6R one day, 70/6R another day, 4,120/6R another day. They just keep making the globe flatter and flatter.
Okay. From what we've talked about earlier, right?
What does R stand for?
Cook, go ahead. Cookie Monster. Go ahead. What did you have to add? Or not? Probably start adding it the moment I get into something. Okay.
He said something like, from our standpoint. What does that mean?
Don't know.
It's a
We're not even
measurement.
supposed to be
Wind
here.
of forms.
Let's try that a third time.
I'm sorry, Nathan.
We're not even supposed to be here, right? This space that we occupy, we are not supposed to be occupying this space, right? We have to carve out a new space because the space we currently occupy is supposed to be occupied by kooks, Mandela idiots, clone center weirdos. That's who is supposed to be occupying this space, right? We're not supposed to be here. We're not supposed to be disseminating how the Earth is flat to give you a globe. That's not supposed to be happening. It's a fact. You can't censor it out of existence. That's why we can be here. But we'll always be ridiculed by our own side, if that's what we want to call it. Now, maybe a little bit of empathy for Bev. He's spotted that and gone, no. No, I want no part of that. And I'm kind of saying that now. Now, I'm not saying I'm ashamed to be a flat earther. Earth is flat. And if the collective term for that as an individual is flat earther, I am proud to wear that badge. But it doesn't alter the social, the separate flat earth that's been positioned in such a manner that people who have put it out up until now have been kooks, haven't they? People who want to talk about 9/11, baby media hoaxery, Sandy Hook. They want to talk about I've already listed them. Clone centers, Mandela effect, media conspiracies, powers that should not be, Illuminati. That's what those are the people that are supposed to be talking about flat Earth, not us. Right?
Yep. Feast of nonsense. You nailed it.
So
you know what makes this show great?
There's a conclusion. Okay. I wanted affirmation. Thank you, Tent. Right. There's a conclusion, though. So we have to distinguish ourselves. I like that word, distinguish. Because if you're in the audience now, there's 130 odd people watching. If you're in the audience now and you are following around, I mentioned this earlier, right? The guy who we're covering, and we will get back. I'll extend the live show so we do give this guy a fair crack. Because we only had 1 minute, 27 seconds of it. But he won't understand, and I mocked and ridiculed him for it. Right? We're just way above this guy's pay grade. He's never going to understand any of this, and that's still true. However, if you are in the audience and you are following along and you do understand this, you're amongst a very, very, very small percentage of people. And further to that, because we are still in that subcategory whether we like it or not, you're in a very small percentage of flat earthers as well. Unique. Now, we are misfits, because as I keep saying, it doesn't seem like we're supposed to be here, and I'm chuckling about it. Maybe I should be sad, but I find that quite amusing, where I personally have found myself, I've just seen an evergreen subject wanting to be a YouTuber, and found myself with a lot of passion for it. Voila, I've got a YouTube channel. But in terms of the subject matter, Flat Earth, it's supposed to be covered by Jaren. It's supposed to be covered by Dave. It's supposed to be covered by Bob. You're supposed to have ice walls and free energy and electrostatic equilibrium and quantum locking. That's what's supposed to be part of Flat Earth. It isn't. It's got sod all to do with Earth being flat. It's measured that way. But no one's supposed to be saying that.
May I ask?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask. Sometimes I get in debates, and I have a hard time when people ask me what makes things go down and up, and I don't really have an answer. And I was hoping you could kind of help me, because the only best answer I have is electrostatics, and I don't even have a way to prove that.
Well, that's not an answer. That's why you haven't got any way to prove it. It's dependent on the item, and it's relative to the density of the medium that it's in.
So you're saying as long as it's heavier than the gas, it goes down, and if it's lighter than the gas, it goes up, right?
If we were friends and discussing this as a mere folly to prove nothing but discuss how the world works, then yes.
Okay, thank you.
I mean,
you also need to be aware.
Hold on.
You also need to be aware that when somebody says about the up and the down, it's the human that invokes that label so that we can understand each other when we describe what we're seeing. But the correct unit really is more and less dense. And that's why if you put contextually the background of what Nathan's just said, something more dense in its medium is going to go that way. And we describe that as down. And something less dense in its medium is going to go that way when we describe that as up. Then you can recognize that it's not really up and down. We just call it that. So it's descriptive. But it's not what's the word I'm looking for? It's not prescriptive. It's descriptive. There is no objective up and there is no objective down. We live in a medium, a density medium caused by the sun. And what we describe as up and down isn't objectively true. It's just the words that we give to it. It's just more and less dense than its medium. That is it. Simple.
However,
I tell them that they need to have a container.
Hold on, let me just ask this question. Go ahead, whoever that was in Discord. Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No, ask your question.
I'm sorry.
What is that Lamborghini?
No, just let him ask his question.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was just saying that, they need to have a container for their pressurized gas. What is that container?
I don't know. Why are we discussing this was going to be my next question, which is to say, why are we as friends having this discussion, this folly? Well, there is a reason. It's because the globe has a positive assertion that there's a downward force holding you to a spinning ball, stopping you from flying off it. That's a positive claim from the globe side. They have to defend. Now, beyond the point of defending that, which we haven't done thus far, we can, as a folly, discuss the way nature presents itself in terms of relative density disequilibrium. But for no real benefit in terms of the discussion about whether or not Earth is flat or globe-shaped. And in terms of that discussion, they do have a positive claim about this very thing that they would need to prove. Go ahead, John.
Right. That's where they're trying, in a burden of proof reversal, ask you what causes up and down so that you will invoke a cause that they can put up in false dichotomy with their wrong answer. That's the only reason you're being asked that question.
Yeah, because then I feel like they think that I lost the debate because I can't tell them what's the sun, what's the moon, what's the container, why is this, why is that, and I just get bombarded.
I'll give you do you want a catch-all answer?
I don't know.
No better answer than that.
Please.
Did I make a claim about it? Repeat after me. Did I make a claim about it?
Did I make a claim about it?
Yeah, did you?
I did not.
So why are you having to explain what up and down is? Oh, because they have a positive... Anthony already pointed this out, kudos to him. Burden of proof reversal fallacy. They have a positive claim of gravity to hold them as an apologetic for you not flying off their fantasy water ball. Well, that's their burden. Why are you asking me about it?
Let them explain it then.
Pardon?
Right? Let them explain it then.
Let them make the claim.
If I don't have a replacement model, then we live on a globe.
Oh, right. So if I can't explain your positive claim of gravity not throwing us off a ball, we live on a ball. Off you go, my friend, if that's your standard.
He's going to need also a baseline for his up and down.
Yeah,
You're going to need a flat line and a flat earth for that.
You will. But my point is, though, in terms of this specific discussion point, if the person who's put that question to you has the identification of the burden of proof reversal fallacy put back to them by being asked, what claim did I make in that regard? And they then say, well, if you can't explain up and down, we're on a ball, you're dealing with, what's the word? An idiot. You've highlighted the false dichotomy burden of proof reversal fallacy, and they've said, well, just pointing out that I've got a burden of proof reversal fallacy and false dichotomy, if you don't answer my side of your positive claim you haven't made for my false dichotomy, I win. That's what I've broken it down as, because that's what it is. Then that's an idiot.
Yeah, but Nathan, see, they don't acknowledge when you bring out a fallacy. They don't even want to talk about fallacy.
Again,
they say that's all we say.
Let me just address Neil. Let me just address Neil. Yes, Neil. And at some point, today is that day for me. I am enlightened. We are not justified by trying to expect a higher level of intelligence than the person you're dealing with. If the person goes, well, I win then, I see. Then what are you going to do? Try and bring them up to a mental capacity that can understand how they lost? You can't do that, can you?
You can explain it to them, but you can't understand it for them.
Yeah, exactly. You walk away from people like that. Let them stay in the ball. Have fun.
Perfect. Oh, kiss you. Hold on. Thank you, Neil. That's right. So in regards to Rachie, when I metaphorically bid her farewell yesterday with a little bit of venom, you're better off going back to the ball, love. You don't understand this. Don't fuss your precious little head over it. Words to that effect, if not the exact words I used. My sentiment, Neil. Yeah, don't worry about it. This is too complicated for you. Just go back to the ball. Just get on with your life. Don't worry about it.
And I want to add to that. I've been trying to eavesdrop while I'm working, but as far as her saying the inside fighting and all of that, well, there's going to be inside fighting when it comes to, as Refractive said, when we have to dissect and extract the Feast of Nonsense perpetrators of fraud, FED, anti-globers who are making it convoluted within our quote, community. So get over it. It is what it is. And you did us a favor by going to the globe side, as that's one of the extraction things, is to either get you to your senses to understand it and to regurgitate it the correct way, or go to the globe side, because what that does is that actually takes the head count down to the Feast of Nonsense perpetrator of fraud, FED, purporters. You know what I'm saying? So
you're either on a couple of different paths. You're either on a path that says, I want to figure out what the nature of our world now is. I accept that it isn't what I've been told, and I accept my own ignorance, and maybe I'll find a little bit out about it on this road. You either accept that, or you take a different path. Now, there are many different ways to describe that path. Anti-flat earth is the most common. But that path is one where you go, yeah, but there might be a way of squaring this circle and keeping myself on that ball. Because maybe it's not true that it's flat. It's like, why go to the effort? Just go back to the ball. Why bother? Just have a happy life on the ball. Don't worry about it.
Too much
Nathan,
work.
Nathan, may I go?
Yeah, good.
This is a debate channel. Why do you think I've been here basically 5 days a week, 6 years going on? Is because of the infighting. See, the infighting is just it's not a proper explanation, but what it is we're all looking to base every claim that anybody makes on truth. So if someone from another channel says something, we say, well, let's look into it. Boom. All of a sudden you have so-called infighting, when really we're saying, you made a claim, where's your proof? Well, it's not, you can't see it, but it's there. Oh, so it's a belief. All of a sudden we have infighting on that topic. Okay, if you're in this arena and that bothers you, where you have to have exact definitions to things, and so that it can match up with the truth, something foundational that we can build everything upon, then maybe you shouldn't be on this topic.
Yes, Ted. They get emotionally attached to people that brought them to flat Earth. It's true. People get emotionally attached. I couldn't care.
Right, and back to the original point, which is the people who came here that Anthony dropped in to talk about, because he referenced whether or not she'd actually converted back. Why did they lie? Well, because when you're on the anti-flat earth route, where I would suggest, just don't worry about it. Get on with it, it doesn't matter, don't be fighting us. There's no need to become convicted violent criminal Craig McNeil from Fight the Flat Earth and beat women as a result of this pain that you're left with. Just get on with your life and be a good person. You know, because cognitively it's too much for you. But they don't want that, because they want to know they're on a ball and they don't anymore. So they fight the flat earth. I mean, metaphorically, not specifically referencing convicted violent criminal Craig McNeil of Fight the Flat Earth channel, who beats women. Not talking about him, just talking about in general fighting the flat earth. Well, that you don't need to do. Just believe it and get on with it, like people who are in various different cults and religions. You know, yeah, you haven't got any proof, but don't worry about it. Don't worry about us. Now, we know it's measured flat. Now, that might cause a social anxiety in some instances, like with Bev, where he might want to deny that he's a flat earther because of the social anxieties these things cause. Well, again, that's your own weakness. You know, and frankly, it's not our right to judge these people for their lack of cognitive ability or weakness in social settings. Just accept that you can, and be a better person yourself, and knowing, A, you've been lied to on a massive scale, and B, you're pretty ignorant about how the world actually does work, and C, you don't need to answer burden of proof reversal fallacies for people who are simply seeking pain relief. And that leads them to lie about Rachie being converted back to the globe, because that affirms their real requirement for total conformity, for total consensus. Everybody must agree, because when you don't, it causes trouble.
Yeah. And if you watch that video with Fight the Flat Earth and you watch it on mute so that you don't hear any sounds, Rachie might as well have a big neon sign over her head saying victim and an arrow pointing at her, because it's as if she's confessing to being the victim of domestic violence for all of her life and how she managed to, beat off her demons and all that, because she's describing it with such sullen tones, and so you can see in her facial expression, in her body language, in the way she's holding herself, she's battered. You can see it. That's not subjective biased. You can watch it yourself. You can see that she's battered, psychologically, emotionally battered. She's not basically saying, I'm going back to the globe. She's saying, I'm tired of the abuse, the vitriol, the snide, the nastiness. But the bottom line is, Rachie, when you realize that there's people in this topic that are intentionally causing confusion so that people that are sat on the fence like yourself revert back to globe because you haven't got anything to, you're not strong enough to basically say, hang on a minute, gravity isn't a force. If you can't do that, then you are going to revert back to the default position because everybody knows the Earth's a globe, right? Well, you've been played. That's what's happened.
Well, something I said to Rachie, seems you're all having the conversation, I have to join in on it. Something I said to Rachie when she first turned up was, the nice ones are predators too. Talking about the ballers. Because what I mean by that is it doesn't matter whether they are actually a good person who just believes in the globe or whatever, or they're nasty or whatever. The point is that they have an agenda. Flat out terrifies them. Their not being the globe is terrifying for them. So they have an agenda because of that fear. And they're willing, someone who may not ever lie to anyone, ever outside in our normal world, will end up telling a lie because they want to keep the globe alive. And so when I said to her, the nice ones are predators too, that means even the ones that come along and seem like genuine people, they are also preying on you to bring you back to the flock, because their flock is bleeding badly daily, whereas we're not. Do you know what I mean? And that's the difference. So they're terrified. They're losing numbers constantly.
Right.
And it is a numbers game.
And there's two natural instincts that they can work on. One is fight. The other is flight. And I'm saying you don't have to go through this, especially if you're not mentally capable. You've got the other option, just fly away, flap, flap, flap. That's it.
Yeah, Nathan.
John's here.
Can I offer after John? I'd like to go.
Good.
Right, John. Can you tell them there is no fence to sit on discussing the idea of how someone feels about this subject is irrelevant, so we can move on?
He's only just joined his
Okay, you're talking about QE then.
He's asking QE to affirm that there is no fence to sit on. If you're a baller, you need a flat earth. If you're a flat earther, you know you need a flat earth. That's it.
Yeah. I like to offer
Morning,
sports.
guys.
Good morning,
Hey, Charlie.
Chaco. I like to offer a sports analogy to what's going on. So if you have a professional sports team, you put your best people. Now you're running the score like, you're up so much that you look at the bench and say, all right, I want these other players to get some experience. Those players go into the game knowing that there's only 10 minutes left and you've got a commanding lead. And even if they make a mistake, it doesn't matter. The people on the front line, they like the fight. They don't flight. They like the fight. We like the fight. We like hard questions. We fight among ourselves. We want the truth. So we run up the score big time. And then people come in and say, hey, you won already. We're a bunch of bench sitters. Can we get in the game? Yeah, it's 70-0 and there's 10 minutes left. Yeah, go in. They go in because of their makeup. All of a sudden, the other team scores 12 points or whatever the sport is. And then they come back and we still win the game. And so you got flat earthers who are going to demolish. And I'm talking about the panel members here and some of our audience who are in Discord, kicking butt on a daily basis. We hear it all the time. Okay, those are the people, the first team. Second team members come in when the lead is up. But then, they're not the people who can handle it yet. They need time to mature. So maybe she can mature, maybe she can't, I don't know. But I haven't liked what I've seen because it's not the first team.
So we're the Miami Dolphins.
70, what was that, 70-20 or something?
Something outrageous.
Yeah, and on that terrible analogy, I'm going to say, first and foremost, if you're watching on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, though, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So another massive thank you to all of you who smashed the super chat. I think that was actually a super chat I didn't read out after all of that kerfuffle. Let's see if I can actually read that out before we do round out this live stream. Scroll up, or just go to view activity. There we go. AJ Junkie says, bring Arwin back. Arwin life matters. Yeah, it did. He would have been in the queue as well for a discussion, but he didn't know that his rumpusing was me putting him in the queue. But there we go. Thank you very much for the super chat indeed. AI Junkie, as you say it. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams. This is going to be an after show to follow. But yeah, massive thank you to all of you. Smash the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, joined as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, and all that good stuff. Obviously, a massive thank you to today's Discord and G Plus panels for making today's live show possible. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!